Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Juju O. Welcome to my channel if you are new. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. It is Friday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Be safe, be careful. Don't forget to protect your energy, cleanse your energy, and all of that good stuff. In today's video, I was guided to talk about trauma bonds and how they are different than authentic relationships, and how you can heal from trauma bonds or release yourself from trauma bonds, and why it's detrimental to you really in your growth, and how and why you can let them go, right? So I am channeling a lot of energy, so just bear with me as I try to gather my thoughts and get out these messages. But Spirit wanted me to talk about trauma bonds and how they are different from authentic relationships, and why and how you can release yourself from trauma bonds so that you can really do the personal healing that is needed for you to do in order for you to attract more healthier relationships and connections that actually serve you, and that you can show up as your highest and best self, because that's ultimately the goal. You don't want to continuously live in a cycle where you're connected to people who use you, who abuse you, who you always have to question their motives, their intentions. You're always, celebrating, stagnancy and being broke and being low vibrational. And a lot of us, we have done a lot of inner work to get ourselves out of, the rut we were in, whether that be physically, emotionally, financially, whatever the case is, or all of the above. But when you are still in connections out of trauma, out of, lower vibrational energies like fear and, survival and lack, then that ultimately slows down your manifestations. It can block your manifestations in its entirety. So I don't know. I was guided to talk about that. So to me, a trauma bond is when you are bonded to someone out of, you either have the same traumas or you might have different traumas, but you guys' traumas, the way that your connection works, you kind of soothe each other, whether that be your inner child and how your inner child was hurt, and just speaking from experience, a lot of childhood friends might be these childhood friend relationships that people try to hold on to, myself included. I was there. They're a lot of the times they're trauma bonds. They're not actually genuine relationships, and that's not to say that they're a bad person or you're a bad person or anything like that. But when you think about where you grew up and the people that you grew up around and that you chose as friends or that you had as friends, because they were in your immediate surroundings, because they were they knew the people that you knew, or whatever the case is, they were friends of family members, or however you guys were interconnected, you definitely needed them at some point in time to help you with your karmic lessons and different cycles that you had to grow up around, and they have served their purpose. But you have to think about it, a lot of the times those are not your chosen, you know what I'm saying? You had to choose them out of proximity, right? And you have to be very clear about that. It's okay to love someone. It's okay to appreciate the role. It's okay to appreciate the role that the role that they've played in your life and all of those things. But you have to understand that when you feel yourself growing, or when you feel yourself ready to grow or change, or just ascend and do better and do other things that you're not used to doing, or whatever the case is, and thinking outside of the box, you a lot of the times we gaslight ourselves thinking that these different relationships and connections are more important than what they need to be, right? And again, trauma bonding is a psychology term. So when you look up trauma bonding, it pretty much describes a connection where there's a cycle of abuse or drama, chaos, toxicity, and then you kind of, get back together and it's like, okay, now we're going to love bomb each other. Now we're cool again. There's no drama, there's no chaos, there's no toxicity, or there still is all of those low vibrational things going on, but you guys are connecting because you're drinking together or you're smoking together, you're having fun, and they make you laugh and all of these other things. But it totally distracts you from the fact that this connection is lowering your vibration. It's not helping you grow. It's actually, it actually makes you feel worse about yourself. It actually makes you feel a lot further from your goals than, what needs to be going on, right? And it gets really hard for spirit, for God, for your ancestors, for your spirit guides to talk to you, to connect with you when you are busy placing relationships and people in your 3D world who are just actually being used as distractions, whether they themselves know it or not, to keep you from doing what you need to do because they themselves are not doing what they need to do. And so that's what really differentiates a trauma bond from an actual authentic connection, because it's not to say that in your connections you both are not going through your own things, and because everybody has their own traumas that they're dealing with, right? So somebody could be a heckler and be like, well, isn't every connection a trauma bond because we all have our own things going on? And yes, that could be very well true, but the thing that makes all the difference is when it's an authentic connection, that's two people that with their own, situations going on that are devoted into their own individual healing. They take responsibility for themselves. They're mature adults. They know that they have some things that they're working out, and they don't try to control or manipulate the other person or make them feel bad or all of those things, right? That is what really differentiates a trauma bond from an authentic relationship, right? And I want to make it very clear that when I'm talking about a trauma bond, it's not always the other person trying to hold you back, like saying, oh yeah, really saying these things or doing certain things that are holding you back maliciously. Like I said earlier, sometimes we gaslight ourselves. Sometimes we have different attachment styles that make us place these people, places, and things and these connections on a pedestal and see them with rose-colored glasses, or see them as more important than they actually are. And when people say, God hears conversations that you didn't hear, or God sees things that you didn't see, it's really true. So a lot of the times you have to think about it in that sense. Does God really want me to continue to pour into this connection? Does God, is that something that God really wants for me? And that's another way that you can, pretty much see if it's a trauma bond, if it's worth, really continuing to pour your energy into, or if this is just another person who's dealing with their own things and you actually have an authentic relationship with them. Because like I was saying, going back to people that you grew up with and things like that, if they are on their own individual healing journey and you guys check in with each other every once in a while, or even if you guys talk really frequently, you pretty much know that that's an authentic relationship versus the person who is still acting like you guys are in high school, to where if you didn't call me on Friday, I'm going to give you the silent treatment. But yeah, I'm supposed to be your best friend, right? And it's like you have all of these other connections where things seemingly seem to be going fine, but then this one person you can't seem to catch a break with, And I know a lot of the times in life we get used to, because of our trauma, we get used to having these high highs in connection and these really low lows. But then when we're going through the lows, we think we don't want to disengage because we're thinking about all of the high times that we had, all of the good times that we had. And so we continuously let these people back into our lives only to keep going through this same cycle over and over and over again. And you are not going to be able to really fully detach and manifest good people and good experiences unless you are able to recognize that this is a trauma bond. You can love a person, you can like I said, you can recognize the part that they played. We had a lot of good times, but this isn't healthy for me, and it's not healthy for you either. And it really is like a humbling moment, because you have to see things for what they are. And you really have to think from your mind, and you still at the same time have to use your heart, because your heart is always going to tell you something. Your heart has that space where where it loves that person. It will never forget the times where they didn't show up for you. It will never forget the times where they didn't support you. They didn't protect you. So you also have to be, it's going to be very cold. It's going to be very humbling. It could be dark. And you have to really face those times and face those moments, and take off those rose-colored glasses and formulate a plan of action to either speak to this person and try to, get them to ascend with you, or create boundaries. And that's a lot of the times what needs to be done, because we are all on our own individual healing journeys, and you're not responsible for making someone step up in any way, shape, or form. That's something that they have to be willing to do on their own. But it is up to you to communicate, depending on your situation, and create those boundaries so that you can do what it is that you need to do. So yeah, it's a trauma bond, babe. You intuitively will know all of the trauma bonds in your life, and it's okay. It's fine. We all have our own individual traumas, and like I said, we get into these relationships because we either grew up around these types of people, these patterns that we play in our life. Like, for instance, if you grew up, mothering your mother, then it's not going to be much of a surprise that you're the mother in your friendship circle, Or you may find yourself mothering your partner, or you just carry that load even at work. You just want to be of assistance, or you want to be in control. You want to stay on top of things, and you have to recognize how you yourself play that role, and then also how other people may take advantage of it. But it always comes back to you. What are you doing? What are you allowing, right? It's not always about other people. And that's something that I'm also learning as well. But yeah, these are just different patterns and behaviors that you pick up from your childhood or traumas. And when you get into connections, they kind of play off of each other, right? So, you might, because you have that mothering spirit, you're used to mothering your mother, you might attract somebody who needs a mother, right? And then that makes things even worse, because you're just like, oh, what a little baby. And it's just not good for you or them, because it ends up draining you. It ends up bringing upon resentment, because you're not doing these things out of a healed space, right? And it might even look good on the surface. It might even look helpful on the surface, but at the end of the day, in these connections, there's certain triggers that you guys may have, or whatever the case is. And then the other person just, flies off the handle. That's toxic. That's not a good thing, And if these things aren't actually being addressed and being healed individually within both of you, then that's how you know it's not an authentic relationship. It's just a relationship where you guys kind of soothe each other's traumas. You guys kind of calm each other down. And then you go through these ups and downs, these cycles of chaos and drama, and I'm going to ignore you, and we're going to cuss each other out, and we're going to fight, and then we're friends again, and then we're having makeup sex, or whatever the case is. And like I said, there's a thin line, because every relationship that you have, every connection, you're going to have disagreements. You're not going to always see things eye to eye. So that's understandable. But you have to understand when you're in it for the wrong reasons, or when you're in it and you're the only person that's really, working towards the betterment of a connection, because that's not, you're being dragged ultimately. You're being dragged because here you are trying your best. Oh, I'm healing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but you're talking to a brick wall after a certain point, because that person is not going to be able to respond at your frequency. They're not going to be able to understand your language, and you're not going to be able to understand theirs, and why they act the way they act, or why they do the things that they do. So after a certain point, once you reach a certain level of healed on your journey, because you're taking responsibility and accountability for yourself and your actions and your traumas and your inner child, you're doing your shadow work. That's why it starts to become, less phone calls and less, connecting with people from that you grew up with, or, just anybody that really, you had an attachment to out of fear or scarcity, or anything that you had an attachment to out of fear, out of scarcity. Once you reach a level of heal, you're not going to be able to resonate with that. Your body is going to reject those environments. Your body is going to reject those ingredients. Your body is going to reject those ideas and philosophies, and it's just not going to make sense for you. And a lot of the times, the trauma bonds, they energetically latch onto you, because people can feel when you're energetically releasing yourself, when you're ascending, when you're changing, when you're growing. And a lot of people, they will want you to stay the same. They will want to see you as that 13-year-old person that, let them walk all over you, or that, was basically a yes man, or whatever the case is, right? And that's because they themselves have their own traumas that they're not dealing with. That has nothing to do with you, right? So just pay attention. Make sure that you're doing your healing work, and that you're taking accountability. And when you are taking accountability, you deserve to be around people that also take accountability for their healing and their shadow work and their part that they play in things. You don't need to be around people, even if you have a person around you that per se isn't necessarily giving you problems, but they always come to you to vent, or because they're having problems with the people in their lives. Maybe that's your chance to let them know, or show them this message, or just let them know, you need to clear your energy. You need to protect your space, and stop allowing energetic vampires and parasites in your space, because you see how it's a ripple effect. It trickles down. Because when you are connected to somebody who you see is trying to ascend or do better, or they are doing better, and they're constantly coming to you with these stories and these dramatic moments, because they're still connecting to somebody, and then you see how it just continues to trickle down into, this low vibration. And it's really true, that saying, and it says like bad gossip gets around quicker than good gossip. And it's really true, because when we can't handle a situation, we immediately want to vent about it. We want to get it out. We want to talk to somebody. We want to kind of make sense of things. And that's all good, and that's all fine, and that's all dandy when you have people in your life that are willing to assist you and support you and all of those things. But you have to be very mindful of how and when you are coming to these people, and how you're utilizing their wisdom and their perspective, right? Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to you and the choices that you decide to make in your life, right? And you don't want to lose a good person. You don't want to lose out on good connections, good opportunities, because you are refusing to disconnect from entities or people or places or things that are, energetically draining you, right? So this is how these things can really kind of throw you off track on your path. And, it can really block out your connection from spirit, because a lot of the times we think, well, this is my best friend. We've been best friends for forever. What would I look like? Loyalty. What would I look like cutting them off? But like I said, God hears conversations that you didn't hear. God knows people's heart. God knows people's intentions. And if you're too busy worried about the meat suit and how things look and what they are to you in the 3D and the material, more so than you even are about your own ascension and you getting to a place where you actually feel God moving in your life, not anybody else's life. And not in a sense to where you can come off as the hero because you're helping somebody else. No, specifically in your life, so that you can have inner peace, so that you can have that house that you want, so you can have that job that you want, so you can open up your business, so you can make the amount of money that you want, so that you can, have your heart's desires, because God does want that for you. God is waiting to give that to you, but you have to meet him halfway. You have to do your part. You have to do what it takes. And I noticed how a lot of these societal standards and these societal expectations are really overshadowing and clouding a lot of God's people's judgment, because we are used to being of the world and not in the world. And that's the exact opposite of what God told his chosen ones to do. But when that's been beaten into you, when that's been institutionalized into you, you really don't know any other way, right? But we're in the information age, and yeah, it's time to really learn ourselves and do what it takes. And it's not, you're going to have support. Don't worry about that, because once you start aligning with what God wants for you, if you know this message is for you and you do what God has been calling you to do, I promise you, things are going to start moving for you. But you have to trust in God, and that's a personal relationship. That's something that nobody else can really talk to you about, that nobody else can really be upset about. If God told you it's time to cut this person off, it's time to cut this activity off, it's time to move, it's time to do something else, and if you don't, or if you find yourself getting a backlash, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. A lot of the times, people gotta recognize they're not fighting against flesh and blood. They're not fighting against you. They're not going up against you. They're going up against God. They're going up against your destiny. They're going up against God's word. What? That's on them. That's on them. And if you find yourself afraid to take a leap of faith, afraid to make a jump, afraid to see what's on the other side. Oh, I don't want to be alone. Oh, I don't want to be ostracized. Oh, I don't want to be the black sheep. Oh, I don't want to be the scapegoat. Okay, well, stay there. Stay miserable. Stay still being scapegoated. Stay still being gaslit. Just stay. And see how that works out for you. And then those be the same people that want to try to downplay God, or, oh, I don't believe in God. I don't. Yeah, because you don't believe in yourself. You haven't been believing in yourself. You haven't been making the proper adjustments. You haven't been making the proper movements. So you're not seeing any ascension in your life. You're not seeing any movement in your life because you ain't been moving. And you want to sit up here and blame God. Okay. See, God don't bless no mess. God is not worried about anybody that's not worried about them. And that's what you got to understand. And that's what a lot of people that are stuck in their own toxicity and drama and chaos have to understand. A lot of people, they want to connect to high vibrational people who, they ultimately are energetically vamping off of, or parasitically vampirizing off of. They want them to solve their problems. They want, to just feel good. They just want to get instant gratification. But it's all about your relationship with God, right? Only God can heal you. Only God can save you. And at the end of the day, the truth is always going to be the truth, and you're only going to be with yourself, right? So that's what a lot of these parasites, they don't understand. These energy vampires, they don't understand. They constantly try to get validation and get people to like them and get people to want to stay with them. Stay here. They can never be alone. They can never just, let people be individuals for whatever reason. It's just like this energy of just smothering, right? And I know a lot of the times you even so much as think about not, doing what this person wants you to do, or you even so much as think about doing something that's outside of the norm of your social group. Somebody texts you or somebody calls you. That's like telepathy. That's like you know, people tapping into your consciousness, and or they can feel you slipping away energetically, and they have to keep you where you are, right? You have to stay here because you serve a purpose for me. Meanwhile, you're thinking it's because y'all are best friends and you have a good time together and they love you. But spiritually, this is what's all going on because they still haven't healed their traumas and their issues from their childhood that has absolutely nothing to do with you. But the way your personalities play off of each other, the way your traumas and your attachment styles play off of each other, and these are all subconscious things that, you know, a lot of people don't think of on a day-to-day basis. But it's all working around in the background. Just think about, like, you know, the inside of a clock and how, like, the mechanism works, and that's all that's going on in the background to create this connection, to keep this train going, right? And the minute that you decide to stop and say, I'm going to do something else, I'm going to reverse this, I'm going to go a different direction, I'm going to take a different route, it kind of throws off everybody else's around you's vibration. And that's fine. That's what boundaries are for. That's what no contact is for. That's what the block button is for. All of that. Because this is you taking a chance on you. This is you worrying about you and your relationship with God. Those people, they're going to have to seek him eventually too. So don't stop your show. Don't stop what you're doing. Don't stop. Keep going. Because at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to what is your relationship with your faith, with the Most High, with your spirit team, with your ancestors, with what brought you here. Or are you just here, just chilling? Like, just chilling, just attaching yourself to people and hoping that they save you, hoping that they continuously, you know, be an emotional band-aid for you, trauma bonding it up. You know, you're not actually out here making genuine connections. You're living from survival. You know, who got the biggest bag? I don't care about really connecting to a man because, you know, we love each other and, you know, we have the same values and morals, and who has the biggest bag? Oh, I don't care about, you know, these bitches and these hoes. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to fuck with my black queens. I want to fuck with somebody because, you know, our offspring is going to be the desired phenotype. Weird shit. It's not an authentic connection, but it can take you somewhere. And then you wonder why the outcome of that is trauma and karma. Right? So you have to kind of think about these things. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to come in, drop that message for you guys. And yeah, like I said, I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and comment down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.